to set the stage a little bit, a young princess from the tundra, after an attack from slavers in the east, comes down to try and get allies so that she could defend her people. And she ends up marrying one of the southern princes. They are at the moment split. They've split their forces down the middle, and they're traveling through the tundra trying to lure the enemies further into the inhospitable climate. So I'm going to read a section from chapter 15. That clever son of a... Algar growled as he tried to douse the fire that had engulfed his tent. The entire Tuin camp had been set ablaze. The Grails, in a bid to escape, had managed to launch flaming missiles into the heart of the Tuin encampment during an unexpected midnight raid. It did not take long for the blaze to take hold. The smoke was thick and made toxic by the dyes in the cloth that now burned, and Algar coughed as he slapped his tent with his cape until the cape caught fire. There was nothing for it. The smoke was too thick. Algar had no choice but to retreat past the billowing fumes. He was, he noted sourly, not the only one. Tired and grimy soldiers, knights, lords and vassals had scrambled back from the camp and now gathered and watched as their camp slowly crumbled to ash. Algar looked west. The Grail army had fled. They would get a good few days ahead of the Tuins, who would have to sift through the wreckage of their camp to retrieve what they could. Then there would be all the waiting for reinforcements, and more supplies, and to regroup, and to collect the horses, many of which, Algar noted, had been stolen or had bolted. In utter frustration, Algar let loose a tirade of curses, pacing and stomping about like a toddler in a tantrum. It could take as long as a week to recover from this, and Lord knows where the Grails would have fled to. I hate this, Algar told the sky. The sky did not answer. Well, that was rather unexpected, King Roger said cheerily from beside his son. Why are you smiling? Algar demanded. The king shrugged. You have to admit, if you're trying to run away, make sure you have some distance. This would be the way to go about it. How could we let this happen? Algar demanded, recommencing his pacing. I think it was because we overestimated our enemy. We did not expect them to flee. We were expecting a single, decisive, brave, if poorly planned battle. Turns out, we don't know our neighbors well at all. They are fighting for more than just themselves, a rasping feminine voice said from behind them. Algar and Roger spun around and found only the tree to which he and his father had retreated. Algar frowned and started to turn away. I'm up here, the voice said again. Algar looked up and noticed nothing out of the ordinary. He searched the tree, passing over the bird of prey that sat on the low branch nearby. It was only after the fourth pass that Algar noted that the osprey was looking intently at him, its neck stretched out and its chest puffed up so that it looked bigger than it was. It settled back after Algar noticed it. Took you long enough, the voice said as the osprey began to preen. Algar's jaw fell open. I'm going insane, he muttered to himself. No, you're just waking up, that's all. The raid and fire woke me up, Algar growled. The voice chuckled as the osprey cocked her head to the side and observed Algar with disturbingly keen eyes. That was a stroke of genius. The crow's father is a clever man. The crow's... Wait, you mean Bran, don't you? Prince Bran, who married the Tundra Marshal, whom everyone is calling the Winter Wolf? Otsana, yes, the voice said. The osprey ruffled her feathers. She's my granddaughter. Did you know that? I'm so proud. That's ludicrous. A bird cannot be kin to a wolf. As ludicrous as a talking bird, the osprey shot back. Algar pressed his lips together and turned away. The bird behind him chuckled. Do you know where you come from, Prince? Without waiting for an answer, the bird spoke on. No. I'll tell you then. A long time ago, 2 Tundra clans journeyed south together as friends. They were the Crow clan and the Lion clan. They took up lands beside one another and remained good friends for centuries. In the west, the Crow clan fathered 13 kingdoms. In the east, the Lion clan fathered 15. Generations of Lion and Crow married to keep the friendship strong. Yet still, time made friends forget one another, and slowly friends became enemies, and the fighting started. The osprey paused. It was not long after that the eagle rose from the east, and the lion forgot his friends and his gods. I speak to the chiefs of the Lion and Crow clans that traveled south together every so often. They are sad they are not remembered, and that their friendship is not remembered. Do you want to know their names? I really couldn't care less. Grail was the chief of the Crow clan, and his warrior name was Bran. Tua was the chief of the Lion Clan, and his warrior name was Alga. Bran Grail and Alga Tua were friends, and through marriage, kin. "Go away, you old harpy," Alga rumbled. He threw a look at his father, who was staring out into the distance, pretending very poorly that he was not listening to this exchange. "You are fighting kin, Alga Tua. Go away." "As you like, kin of my kin." "You and I are not kin." "No? The crow has married an osprey who became a wolf." Alga turned slowly and faced the osprey perched on her branch. "I know that." "You do you? Well, you're not as ignorant as some, then. Seraphima might even have liked you." "Seraphima?" Alga said the name a little louder than intended, and he had to wait until the curious eyes left him before he dared continue his conversation. "Seraphima, princess of the Osprey clan, whom Alan met and respected. Seraphima, who was killed in battle. That Seraphima?" The Osprey cocked her head at Algar. "Seraphima was not killed. She was saved by the Lord of the Hunt and taken to the Shamanka of the Ice Bear clan. When she healed, the Lord of the Hunt sent her south to the land of the Crows. There she met the Bevey prince, Bran Grail, who became her husband. Alga Tua, Bran Grail is your kin, and he has married my kin. That makes us kin." Alga shook his head and turned away. "This is insane. Seraphima is dead. Alan saw it with his own eyes. And I'm talking to a bird. The fumes must have gotten to me." "All right, little lion," the osprey said. "I thought you were at least as intelligent as a crow. It seems, alas, that Bran has more sense after all. It's a good thing it was him who married my granddaughter." With that, the osprey took flight, soaring high above the dying fires for the fleeing Grail army. "That was interesting," Roger said quietly when Alga rejoined him, fuming in silence. "What was interesting?" "What was interesting?" Alga made it clear with his tone of voice that he wanted to deny the entire conversation he had had with a bird. Birds do not speak, and people most certainly do not speak to birds. "Oh, nothing. That's what I thought." Scene change. Bran donned his war cloak and, with Bull's aid, his weapons and armor. "You look fearsome indeed," Bull noted. "I look like a giant black turkey, with a very sharp beak and eyes of cold stone, not to mention talons of steel. There you go. Now walk tall." "Thank you, Bull." Bull shrugged. "I want a cloak like this, but made of bull hide, with great big auroch horns." Bran grinned. "You are welcome to wear one if you can make it." Bull smiled and shook his head. "Only shaman can make these cloaks. They are special." "Are they?" Bran certainly felt special, though it was not the pleasant kind of special. "They are imbued with power, Bran, the shaman. The shaman cast spells as they make these cloaks." "Of course they do. Do you not believe in the power of the shaman?" "I don't believe in magic, Bull." Bull grinned. "You will, I'm sure." The camp had been struck, and a small force of trustworthy vassals had taken the supplies west. They would meet again, certainly. Bran had to lure the Uttles deep into the tundra. That was his task. Seraphima would then come at them from behind, Bran hoped. A scout came galloping across to Bran. "They're here," he said. Bran nodded. "Mount up!" Everyone obeyed. Bran had long ago proven himself to them. There was not one war chief or warrior who would not now consider Bran one of them. "Bull," Bran asked as Bull moved his horse next to his, "where are your warriors? I do not see anyone except your standard-bearer." Bull grinned. "Do you remember the story I told you of the first Bull, long ago chief of the Orc clan?" "Vaguely." Bran's eyes widened. "They're buried in the snow?" Bull grinned. "Want to spook a horse? Have ghosts jump up from the ground. They will lose many more horses today." "Bull, if you weren't a man, I would kiss you." Bull grinned. "You'd have to fight my wife for the privilege." "I could take her," Bran said with a cheeky grin. "You say that now, but wait until you meet her. I might be as big as a bull, but she is as strong as an ox. You wouldn't stand a chance." "Should make for an interesting fight." Bull laughed, the sound ringing clear through the crisp spring air as the first of the Otto army crested the small hill yards away from the Sierran troops. A distantly shouted command was uttered, and the enemy troops began to form up. It was spectacular to behold. 3 standard-bearers, each carrying a tall flagpole crested with a golden statue of an eagle, marched forward and stood in an evenly spaced line across the entire length of the enemy army. The flags that fluttered overhead were dyed yellow, with an orange eagle in each. The standard-bearers thrust them into the ground, thus marking the line that they now considered Ottoman territory. Behind that line, tightly packed rows of horsemen gathered, each in perfect rows, and separated into regiments, each carrying their own standard. The colours remained the same, orange and yellow, but the size and shape of the flags, as well as the arrangement of the colours, varied. By comparison, the Sierran army was in shambles. Each clan had a standard, though it was not dyed in woven fabric, but ochre-painted skins. Sometimes a simple strip of their totem animal's pelt or its stuffed tail, as in the case of the White Fox clan, served. The armour of the Sierrans did not glitter as did the armour of the Ottles, covered in leather and fur as it was. Horsemen formed in clan groups, but they were no rows and no columns, just circles of groups divided by wide channels. Archers and swordsmen were not divided. There was absolutely no order whatsoever. "Well now," the guildmaster said with a small smile as he observed the small army waiting before him, "this should be easy. Let's go treat with them, shall we?" He wasn't speaking to anyone in particular, and no one answered him. He nudged his horse and rode forward to the centre of what was soon to become the battlefield, with a small group of his personal guard. "I have an idea for our next engagement," Bran said to Bull. "Remind me to tell you after this one, but for now, start laughing, and get the others to as well." "Laugh, Crow?" "Yes, Bull. Start laughing." Bull did. He turned his horse around and faced the warriors, and began to laugh, winking at them as he did so. They caught on immediately, and, not knowing how it would help, they too began to laugh. What began as a fine display of acting soon turned into genuine laughter, aided by the maddening effect of adrenaline. Chuckling himself, Bran nudged his horse forward, accompanied only by Bull. Sorry, Bill. The pair approached the Ottoman commander with wide grins on their faces, while behind them the warriors laughed and laughed. Bran spared a glance for the highly disciplined soldiers of the desert as they stood at the crest of a small hill. They shuffled uncomfortably, turning to look at their comrades, no doubt wondering at the reason for the Sierrans' glee, or even at their sanity. "Greetings," the Ottoman commander said to Bran and Bull, impassable to him once they had stopped a few feet before him. The two Sierran warriors were on horses that loomed larger than Mutsusa thought possible, towering over his own desert horse like great mountains of muscle and bone. He did not like it. The pair were grinning like lunatics, and Bran could tell it was making the commander nervous. "Hi," Bran said, and Bull had to cough to hide his amusement. Bran would not treat seriously with this man. The commander of the Ottles frowned. "Are you the commander of this army?" he asked, making sure to add as much dripping derision as possible when he uttered the word army. "No," Bran said with a smile. He offered no more. The longer he drew out these talks, the colder the army he was facing would become. He was certain there was no room in their armor for furs or wools, and steel gets very cold, very, very fast. "Then it is the Winter Wolf. I will treat with her." "You can't." "Why not? Where is she? Why is she not with her army?" "Oh, she's with her army. Look down at your mount's feet, desert man. There is the Winter Wolf. Look up at the sky, so clear and blue and cool. That is the Winter Wolf. Look around you at the snows that will not disappear until the summer, and the grass is beginning to break through that snow, at the rocks that show through, at the men at my back. And at the men at my back. That is the Winter Wolf. And she doesn't much like you. Thus, as her representative, it is my task to tell you to go home. Since you haven't listened to it thus far, take a look around, you insolent, overgrown sand pigeon. This will be your last day in this frozen wasteland. Be nice," Bran chided easily. "The tundra is sensitive." The Ottoman commander shook his head and glared at Bran before turning his horse and trying to trot back to the Ottoman-controlled territory. Bran observed mildly as his dainty horse slipped twice and stumbled once on the short journey up the slope, before he turned his horse and trotted easily back to his men, who had stopped laughing. "I need you to laugh really hard, like I just told you something about Sandboy over there," Bran informed his warriors. They acquiesced, letting a small burst of raucous laughter loose in the chill air. Bran was certain the Ottoman army could hear him, for the commander whipped around and stared at Bran. Bran could only smile back as many in the ranks took a collective step backwards. "All right," Bran said, unsheathing his powder-blue sword. "A charging line of horses will have many weak points. Some horses are faster and so on. You will wait for my command before you ride forward to meet them. Hold your ground until then. I have a feeling many a horse will break its legs on the run down the hill. Let's let them." Bran raised his sword, and tilting his head up to the sky, howled. His howling had improved. The other warriors unsheathed their weapons and joined in the chorus of eerie howls. "They are all insane," one of the guards whispered to the guildmaster. "They're just trying to scare us," he replied. "It's strategy and nothing more. Mark my words." The guardsman nodded, but did not look convinced. "It's that or they know something we don't," another whispered to the first guardsman. The latter nodded, but kept his peace. No one wanted to become the next Brado de Sul. "Send the wings in first. They're small. We'll encompass them easily," the guildmaster told his lieutenant. The lieutenant nodded and shouted the command. In an instant, the otters came thundering down the slope, forming a deep crescent as they did. And I'm going to stop there.